We've got breaking news out of the NFL where 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy will make his return this Sunday against the Jaguars. He's missed the past two games with a turf toe-like injury, with Mac Jones going 2-0 over that stretch. Now, this will be Purdy's first appearance since week 1 when he threw for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks in a win against the Seattle Seahawks. Kickoff for Sunday's game between the Jaguars and Niners is set for 4:05 Eastern Time from San Francisco. For much more on how this affects you starting your fantasy lineups, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Heath Cummings. Heath, it's great to see you. Let's start here with Brock Purdy, the biggest news today. He's good to go this week. 49ers, as I mentioned, play the Jaguars. Are you, though, confident in starting him?
I would view him as a low-end QB1. There's always a little bit of risk coming off of an injury, but Purdy has been one of the most efficient passers in the NFL since he came into the league. Some of that's Kyle Shanahan, sure, but Kyle Shanahan's there. He's got Ricky Pearsall. He may have Juwan Jennings, we're hoping. But either way, against this Jacksonville team, and maybe more importantly, as good as Christian McCaffrey has been because of all that volume, the run game has not been efficient in San Francisco. That's led to more pass attempts for this team. When you combine a little higher pass volume with Purdy's career efficiency, he comes out right around QB 8 or 9, depending on how some of these other injuries shake out.
Heath, we are learning that 49ers are listing receiver Juwan Jennings with a shoulder and ankle injury, and Ricky Pearsall dealing with that knee injury as questionable for Sunday's game. Does that change your approach at all?
You know, what Ricky Pearsall said early in the week was that he's got a little bit of a knee pain, but he expects to play. So we're taking him at his word. That can always be a little bit risky with the 49ers and injuries. If we get to Sunday and both Jennings and Pearsall were out, we'd have to back way off of Brock Purdy. As long as one of those guys plays, I think you can start Purdy as a low-end starter. And if they both play, this could be a really good passing game for Brock Purdy and the 49ers. If Pearsall is active, view him as a borderline number 1 wide receiver. If Jennings is active, view him as more of a boom-bust number 3.
All right, let's get to the Washington Commanders, who will be without their 2 top offensive players, their quarterback, Jayden Daniels, and their receiver, Terry McLaurin, out for this game against the Atlanta Falcons. So again, it's Marcus Mariota time. How much do you trust him this week?
So it's really interesting because based on what he has done as a passer and as a runner the last 2 seasons, he's played 3 games where it's been at least half the snaps for Marcus Mariota, and he's been over 22 fantasy points in all 3 of those games, which sounds really ridiculous. Based on those numbers, you'd think you want to start him. But I think we saw when this announcement came out that the line falls. They had an implied total of 23 points earlier in the week. It's down to 20 now for the Washington Commanders. Without Terry McLaurin, I'm not confident enough to rank Mariota as a top 12 quarterback. He's still somebody that if you started him last week and you have Daniels and you don't want to pick somebody up, I think he can be close to that QB 12 range, but a little bit concerned about him. The big winner here would be Deebo Samuel, because without Terry McLaurin, we're looking at a 25 to 30% target share for Deebo Samuel. Zach Ertz looks like a pretty decent start at the tight end position as well. And then one deep sleeper in this offense, Luke McCaffrey, really stepped up in the 4th quarter last week after Deebo Samuel went down. He's a young guy who hasn't shown us much in the NFL yet, but we've got a lot of wide receiver injuries. So if you're really desperate, go see if Luke McCaffrey's available.
Yeah, I like that play there also with Deebo Samuel, considering this receiving room is hurting right now, also without Noah Brown. Let's get to the Chiefs here. They have a big one on CBS taking on the Baltimore Ravens. This offense, as we know, has been very disappointing as of lately, but good news for the Chiefs. They do get Xavier Worthy back from his shoulder injury, ready to go. Are you feeling, though, confident to start him right away, especially in this game?
This is one that is absolutely driving us crazy, because obviously if you could have the number 1 wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes at full strength against a Baltimore defense that has not been very good this year, it sounds fantastic, right? But also Xavier Worthy's been working with some sort of brace for most of the last couple of weeks. He's not a huge guy, and so there's some significant risk if he just takes one hit to that shoulder, or maybe the Chiefs just want him to run up and down the sideline, take defensive attention for a week, and not risk any hits to that shoulder. So I'm going to view him as more of a wide receiver 4, but I certainly understand if you've got FOMO and you don't want to leave Xavier Worthy on your bench. And with all the injuries we have, he has the upside to finish as a top 15 guy this week. There's also the danger that he's a decoy.
Yeah, I love that note. A little bit of FOMO. It doesn't feel right leaving him on the bench there. Let's get to the other side of this matchup for the Ravens. Isaiah likely questionable to make his debut this season as the Ravens do take on those Chiefs. How could this affect maybe the approach for Mark Andrews this week?
So another guy that has us pulling our hair out, right? Mark Andrews had 3 fantasy points the first 2 weeks of the season combined, and then he just absolutely destroys the Detroit Lions and looks like he's Mark Andrews again. This, I think, should give you just a little bit more caution in just jumping right back in on Mark Andrews, because we saw it last year when these two teams played. It was all Isaiah Likely. It was almost no Mark Andrews. We panicked about Andrews back then. I would not want to trust either one of these tight ends as my tight end 1 this week. You look at our consensus rankings, I would actually start David Njoku, Harold Fannin, Kyle Pitts over Andrews. He's not a top 12, top 15 guy for me. I do want to go see if Likely is available on the waiver wire, because there's a potential with the stage of the career these two guys are at that we see Isaiah Likely eventually move into that tight end 1 role. For now, I'd rather have both these guys on the bench. If you're desperate, Andrews is a touchdown dependent streamer.
All right, let's go ahead and check in with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We know that Mike Evans is out this week. Chris Godwin, questionable right now still to return, but he is set to make his season debut. How are you feeling about Godwin, if he's good to go, and if he is, to actually get some targets in this one?
Yeah, I think this one is kind of like Xavier Worthy without quite so much fear that he's going to produce a top 12 week, because our expectation at the beginning of the year was that he was going to go on PUP, and they said he's not going to go on PUP, but he's not going to play until October. And now Mike Evans has the hamstring injury, and it's just, there's a little bit of fear that they're maybe rushing Godwin back just a little bit. We've seen him come back maybe a little bit too early from an injury and just be a partial participant for half of a season a couple of years ago. I don't really want to start Godwin in this matchup. It does bring down Emeka Egbuka's upside just a little bit because there's another weapon to throw to. It hurts Sterling Shepard as a potential sleeper. It maybe helps Baker Mayfield out just a little bit, but I'd like to just leave Godwin on the bench for 1 more week if you can.
Sounds good to me. Lastly, let's hit on Justin Fields here, obviously coming back from concussion, full participant at practice today. How do you feel about starting him this week, and how much really does that boost the guys around him and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson?
That's the thing about Justin Fields, is we get really excited about starting him whenever he plays, and he doesn't help anyone else at all, because Justin Fields does so much of it on his own. He's going to score more rushing touchdowns than Tyrod Taylor is. He's probably going to have more rush attempts, and we're not sure that the Jets will even throw as much with Fields under center. We haven't ranked Fields yet because he's still in the concussion protocol. I did plug him into my projections, though, just on the idea that he has practiced a couple times in full, and he comes out right around QB8. I think he and Brock Purdy in a very similar range. You're probably going to get 10 plus rush attempts. You're probably going to get 60 plus rushing yards. This Dolphins defense is one of the worst in the NFL. So if Fields is starting for the Jets, he should start on your fantasy team. The one complicated thing is we need to get real confirmation tomorrow, because this is a Monday night game. So you're going to have to make some decisions on Sunday when the game's still a day away. Hopefully he's taken out of the protocol tomorrow. We'll put him in our rankings. You can put him in your lineup.
All right. You will obviously keep us posted here. Heath Cummings, always great to see you here on CBS Sports HQ. The Jets taking on the Dolphins. As Heath mentioned, Monday Night Football. You can get some more fantasy football tips on the Fantasy Football Today podcast. All you got to do is scan that QR code on your screen and watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts.